Hey, what's up, guys? I am back. It's April 26th. It's nearing the end of April. It is a crazy, crazy time. We're almost over with quarantine. My gym, the Y, Cambridge Y, is going to open up in 2 weeks. So I am fucking stoked for that, bro. I can't wait to get back into the gym. In the meantime, I've been doing Greg's Kinobody's Bodyweight Mastery training program. Since then I've learned how to do like a handstand push-up. I can almost do a one-handed push-up. I can't really hit depth, but I can do it a little bit. I've known how to do muscle up, but yeah, I'm starting to learn stuff. I'm almost around level 4. I learned how to do a back bridge as well. I'm almost around level 4 when there's 8 levels, so I'm kind of like an intermediate now, basically bodyweight calisthenics dude. So that's kind of cool to have learned in quarantine, but it looks like I'm going to be able to get back into free weights and bodybuilding again, and hopefully the gym will be open again soon and things will be back to business. Thank God. It looks like this goddamn this pandemic sickness is almost over. Yeah, there might be a second wave, coronavirus. Yeah, the spike is not going to be as strong. I mean, this time, we're more prepared, and our healthcare system is not as overwhelmed. So it looks like the war is almost over, and it looks like we're about to get back into business. I just took a walk outside yesterday. There was people just milling about, walking around, and they're still wearing masks and stuff, but it does look like life is starting to return to normal, and I'm so happy about that. So glad that we made it through this for the most part, and that we all got together united, the country united. Trump just said to drink some bleach or whatever, but he's gonna say some wacky stuff sometimes, and for the most part I think he handled it decently. I didn't get a check apparently because my parents claimed me as a dependent last year, so kind of bummed about that, but it's okay. I don't need a check. I'll find a way to make it without it. Yeah, just lots of stuff has been going down lately. Life has been good. I've been zooming with my buddies. I've been zooming with other people, in LA, just like networking and talking to people. It's been a huge kind of time for me personally. I've been kind of thinking, I've been telling people I've been moving to LA, and they're kind of asking me, what changed your mind? Why did you want to go to LA when you're like in Boston? And I've been thinking about it, and I realized that I've kind of like tied up the things that I wanted to learn in Boston. I've come here and learned what I wanted to learn. I've grown from a minnow to a fish, or to a shark now. So I'm learning to swim with some bigger fishes now in LA. And I've gotten some closure. I've understood why I didn't get into Harvard. I guess that's something that that's been gnawing on me, I guess since high school, and I didn't realize it was something that I still cared about until now. But now I realize why. I mean, it's basically that, if, like someone like me, I don't want to go into it, but anyways, I kind of got closure on that. I've met people, and I've learned everything, and coming into Boston, I've really grown. I've really sorted things out in my personal life, and before I could really succeed at anything, beyond myself, I really had to get my own personal life in order. I didn't realize my foundations were pretty weak. They would buckle. There's a lot that I had to learn before I could really move out there. And I'll talk about this at the end of season 1 in July. I'll have a reflection, before vlog season 1 ends. It'll be a whole 52 weeks of vlogging, so that's going to be exciting. I'll talk more about that and why I'm moving to LA. But I kind of realized, the short story of it is that I've kind of realized what I wanted to realize here in Boston, and I'm hustling out here, and I can do the same exact thing that I'm doing here in LA. I've kind of prototyped everything I really wanted to do, and so now I can do it with more in a smarter way in LA, having tried out everything and kind of gotten an idea of what the reality is like. So yeah, those were some dope ass things that have been going on in my head. And that's what's been going on. Oh yeah, Kim Jong-un, I guess he may or may not be dead, who knows. He might have passed away. I'm sorry to sound so lightly about this. Anyone passing away is not a good thing, but it's just, you just can't tell. You just can't tell whether it's true or not. If it is true, I mean, I feel bad, but if it's not, come on, what are you doing? Anyways, let's see. The topic of today's video, yes. So I've been really trying to tie up what I'm considering about this, movement, the Goodlife movement. Starting the next revolution, the next wave of thinking. I've been, going back and forth, and I've been reviewing kind of history in terms of centuries, and I've been listening to the story of mankind. There's, if we're starting in the medieval times, there's this plague, and then we have the Renaissance, and then we have some time after the Renaissance, and we have the Enlightenment, and then after the Enlightenment, then we have the centuries. So the Renaissance and the Enlightenment were two periods of huge shifts in humanity that changed were revolutions in thinking. So I want to create the next wave of the Renaissance, Enlightenment, whatever the third kind of turn. My head's just tweaking right now because I'm just thinking at 1,000 miles a minute right now. This third wave, as we're turning the millennium, as we're we've experienced our first modern pandemic, the coronavirus, and we're also starting to embrace the digital age. We're creating the infrastructure of the future. I was thinking about it, we used to build roads and highways and buildings and bridges. That was infrastructure back in the day, and now we're building digital infrastructure. We're building algorithms, we're building AI, we're building bots, we're building neural networks and machine learning techniques and programming languages. These are kind of the digital infrastructures that we're building now, and the data structures that we're building that will be the next type of roads and bridges for the future generations. And so we're very much at a turn of a century, turn of a new way of thinking. And I was looking at the statistics as well. I don't know, a fourth of millennials, or even 40 up to 40% of millennials are non-religious. They don't identify with religion. And I'm gonna talk more about that in today's topic, because that's kind of what I'm gonna be alluding to, but table that for now. And it seems like we're embracing more science, technology, secular ideas, and in even more of a macro view, the age of empires is over. Borders are pretty much stable at this point. Nations, all of that, there's a harmony. There's the United Nations. Our culture is becoming more feminized, and these are kind of very, very macro trends that if you look, if you zoom out very, very far, you kind of see these things happening. And so I'm looking at this from that very, very far zoomed out perspective, and I'm trying to imagine, what is our century going to look like? Because at this point, most of the people watching this are not going to live until 80. They're going to live until 100. And 80 years old was kind of the expectation for most of the people, in the generations that came before us. But our generation is going to live longer, have higher life expectancies. We're going to enjoy a lot more technologies, and a lot of life in the next 20 years is going to be dramatically different for us now. And we grew up in the time of the internet, which is kind of ridiculous. The internet kind of that is already a new way of thinking, and now we have machine learning and artificial intelligence is going to take off. All of this stuff is completely new. And I used to think that old people just didn't get technology, and that time, they're just slow at it. But I'm realizing now that no, it's just that the times move so quickly. Already I feel old. Already my little cousins are understanding technology that I don't understand yet. So if you understand like that pace that's moving so quickly, that like I'm only 23 years old and I feel already behind at the way that technology is advancing, that is just like blowing my mind, and it makes me consider that like, yeah, we really are at the cusp of a new wave of thinking. And so this Goodlife movement, I want to kind of posture or kind of position so that way, as this wave is taking off, we are positioned to kind of build on it and to kind of create a way of thinking that is shareable, that is for the benefit of humanity. And so I want to be ahead of that wave, just so that way when time comes, when we ask what is the right way to think, we have something written out, we have something thought out, that like this is kind of the next way to live humanity, the next path. And so I don't know, that's kind of the idea behind why I'm making this movement, and why I'm like writing this out, why I'm really like planning this all out ahead of time. This is because I see this wave happening. Jeff Bezos talks about people who have extraordinary long-term vision. Like, he has extraordinary long-term vision, and he can detect tremors in in innovation far ahead of anybody else. Like, it's like an earthquake. An earthquake, before the actual earthquake happens, there's like tremors that happen years in advance, and then the actual earthquake happens. So it's kind of like that. I'm detecting a tectonic shift in thinking at the level of continents, at the level of like the very, very highest level of like zooming out you can go. I'm detecting changes that level, seismic level. And so that's kind of putting a what's it called, an onus on me to want to figure out this way of living for this next generation to come, that's living in this new age, so that way the world is a better place. Okay, with that said, I guess we can talk about this idea that success is a religion. And before I even talk about that, there's also one thing I wanted to kind of explain too. Why am I kind of qualified to talk about this? Besides the fact that I've detected this, tremor in the way that the world is thinking. Besides that kind of early, insight and early, initial ability to see ahead, and besides that ability, which I don't want to, gas my or toot my own horn enough, but like apparently that's like genius is apparently the ability to see very, very far ahead. That's something this polymath said, Victorian age. I forgot. I read it in was it Tribe of Mentors? A Tim Ferriss quote. I'm not saying that I'm a genius, but like I can see why that would be the case. Having extraordinary foresight, just to be able to see things other people can't see. That is a talent, and that people agree. And I don't know. I'm realizing now that just sounds really conceited. So I'm sorry that I said that. I'm working on that anyways. But why am I qualified to say this? It's not because I'm a genius. It's because I don't know. I'm not even qualified to say this, actually, to be honest. I'm learning this the same way that we all are. And I want to create this community so that way I can learn as well. I'm learning, and I want to create a community that we can all learn together how to, solve this problem of life in the best way. And, if there is a better way, I want to adjust this plan, this path that I'm making, so that, it is better. I want to separate my own ego from the ego of the community. And that's kind of one of the properties of, some of the best leaders of any group, is when they can, put the ego or the interests of the group before their own interests. And so that's kind of a value I'm trying to instill in myself, that like, if there is a better way to do things than the way that I'm proposing, then I will change the way that I'm proposing to appreciate that better way. So if you guys have better recommendations, I'll take them into consideration for sure. But anyways, with that caveat that I'm not perfect, and that I'm just trying to do my best, and I'm learning it at the same time as you. That is kind of where I stand in terms of do I have any credibility in what I'm saying. With that said, let's move on to the topic of today's video. This video is going on way long. I did not realize it's going to take this long. But anyways, I'm just going to speak about it shortly, and I'll elaborate it on future videos. And this idea essentially is that success is a religion. What do I mean by that? I mean that and I don't want to introduce the idea of God into this community, because I do think that that's a personal choice that also is something that depends on where you came from, and this group is is agnostic about where you came from. It doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor or you're broke or or you're disabled or you're from a third world country. It doesn't matter any about that. If you can't speak English, it doesn't matter. It just matters if you have the willingness to work hard and make a living and do good. So anyways, I don't want to incorporate the idea that we have to believe in God for this movement to work. But anyways, success is a religion because if you can align your goals with your ego, with your own identity, that's when you can make achieving your goals the most imperative feature in your mind. What do I mean by that? I mean that, like, if you say that if you start to believe that I am a entrepreneur, if that's part of your identity, then regardless of whether or not you've done entrepreneurial things or whether or not you've started a business or not, if you convince yourself that if you build your identity around this idea that you are an entrepreneur, then suddenly not being an entrepreneur is a dissolution of your own self. And so that's going to motivate you to actually be an entrepreneur and actually build a business, actually create an income, and hire people, yada yada yada. So if you can align your goals with your ego, if you society ingrains in us ideas about what we're worth and what we can do and what we can't do, and whether your dreams are feasible or not. And what you have to do in order to accomplish goals that go against that grain, that go against that idea of what society has told you you are capable of, you have to decondition yourself of all of that pressure that they have applied to you in order to not go against the typical narrative of go to college, get a job, oil the machine, and be a cog in the wheel. You have to uninstall those ideas that is the societal imperative in order to install the ideas that will allow you to be an individual and create something outside of the societal system that will potentially improve society. So this is a very kind of a grand type of terminology, but if you think about it, society is a giant machine, and everybody is a cog in the machine, and they all have their purpose, and they're keeping the system running. The lights are on when it comes nighttime. The roads are paved. There's not anarchy. There's less crime in the streets. There's an order to society, and society has to give you a dream, has to give you a story about who you are in order to fit into that system. And so it teaches you what you are supposed to do. And the thing is that for the majority of people, it needs to do that. Most people have to do that, because if everybody is so individual, then society fractures. So and that has to happen, okay? But at the same time, if you are a person of great will, if you have an individuality that can improve the system, can change the system, then potentially you can do good for society. But oftentimes that can go awry if you don't do it the right way. And so there has to be a correct path in order to iterate society in a way that doesn't, veer the wheel off of the side of the road, so to say. And so our kind of challenge is to create that path for people in order to iterate society with good judgment, essentially, without kind of corroding the principles and foundations that built it in the first place. So that's a difficult problem, and we're on our way to solving it. And the first kind of way to begin that process is instilling into yourself the idea of what you're capable of and how you can help society and what your intentions are. Because if you start off with the wrong intentions, then everything in the end comes out for the wrong reasons. And so we have to be very careful from the very start, in our actual mental programming about how we're going to go about changing the world. And so a lot of the ideas you have about your worth and your success and what you can do are deeply embedded in your psyche, deeply embedded in your ego, and some of you are not going to be even willing to listen to what I'm saying, just because you've been so attuned to the narrative that society has told you, and it's almost like there's a wall that I'm speaking to, and all the words are bouncing right off. And so in order to listen to what I'm saying, you have to kind of learn to lower that wall and allow yourself to even accept the idea that you can change, that you can kind of improve society if you chose to. And that idea that society is mutable and that you can actually make a difference in it. Steve Jobs actually talked about it before. You can, tinker with society. You can tinker with the way society operates, how the system is run, how the wheel is turned. You can tinker with it. But to understand that, to be able to, flex the fabric of society, to be able to do that, you have to appreciate your own abilities. You have to have an individuality that can kind of make a difference, and that you believe in regardless of societal pressure. And that's not to say that you should be arrogant or you shouldn't listen to other people, because people are ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're doing this for. Remember, get rich, get fit, and do good. We're doing this for the sake of other people. And when you put others ahead of you, or when you let them before yourself, that's when your motivations become pure. And so that's why we want to start with the right kind of mentality at the first place. Ambition is good, but too much can be antisocial. So that's why we start off with pro-social kind of programming in your internal compass. If you have a strong sense of morality, if you have a work ethic, and if you have a reason beyond yourself to improve the world, that is when you start to make incremental change to society that actually veers it in the right direction. And that's when individualism doesn't fraction society, or if it does, it fractionates it in a good way. And so in a way that actually allows it to heal better. So this has been such a long ass video. Like, I'm just talking out of my ass right now. I don't even think this is gonna get any views at all, but like at the end of the day, that's not the point of this video. It's not to get views, it's to start off this new wave of thinking. I have to reorganize all of my thoughts in a more coherent way, but I just kind of word vomited it out here, and I'm just putting that energy out there, and hopefully one day it'll mean something. So with that, I'm going to end this video. I'll think about these ideas, they'll be stewing in my head again. But if you learn anything or entertained, drop me a like, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about this movement? Is this kind of, crazy? Is this, some woo-woo, like, religio cult shit? Like, I just want to hear what you guys have to say. Definitely, if you have a better idea about going about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But anyways, that's been it for me. I'll think about it next time. But as always, I love you guys, and I will see you next Thursday. Peace. I've been thinking of a new way to live. I've been dreaming of a good life, and I've been waiting. I've been sleeping.